Now we will do the same for the teachers and for the rooms and for courses. First, I will go here to the repository folder and I will create interface. I will call it teacher or teacher repository. Click add. And inside this repository, I have to say that this is public. And inside it, I need to add my functions. The first one, let's say public void create. And this will receive teacher. I have to add the model. Teacher object. And also I need public list of teacher get all teachers, and I need another method to delete an existing teacher. It will be void delete That's it. Then I will go again and I will add a new class and I will call it teacher repository, and this should implement its interface teacher repository and simply say implement interface. We have three methods. The first one is create, and the second is delete, and the third one is to get all teachers. We will do the same as we did in the student repository. We will take this copy and we will paste it here. But this constructor should be teacher, not student. And I have to add the context model. And also I have to add the DB context options from the Entity Framework core. And that's it. And before start writing the implementation for these methods, we need to go to the startup file and we need to add the service here, like what we did before. But this will be for teacher repository and teacher repository. This is for the dependency injection in the .NET Core. Let's close this and go back here. What is the implementation for the create function in the teacher repository? I will say that I will add a new teacher. So my application context dot teachers dot add teacher. This teacher is passed here, and then I have to say my application context dot save changes. That's it. And here for the delete I will do the same, but for this method this should receive a parameter for the teacher ID. So I have to go back to the teacher repository and say this delete should receive integer ID. Now let's go back to the teacher repository and I will say this will receive integer ID. And for the implementation, first of all, we need to define, or we need to find the teacher which we are going to remove. So I have to say teacher, like teacher object equal, and then I have to use LINQ query, and I will say from my object teacher object in my application db context dot teachers, and I want to select the whole object teacher, and I have to say dot first or default because we are going just to take one teacher. But for this we need also to say that where my object teacher dot teacher id should be equal to the value id. Yes, here teacher object. And here also teacher object. So by this way, I have the teacher which we need to remove. And now I have to say my application context dot teachers dot remove this teacher. And then I have to say application context dot save changes. And to get all teachers, what we need to do is just, I will say list of teachers, let's say teacher lst equal, again I will use LINQ from teacher obj in my application context dot teachers select the whole object teacher obj, and I will say dot to list. Let's say that dot to list only, semicolon, and this will return teacher lst. So now we have the create and the delete and get all teachers. Now we need to go to the controllers and we will create a new controller for the teacher. And I will use, for example, the empty MVC controller empty and click add. I will name it like teacher controller. Add. Now I have the teacher controller. I have now the index method, and in the index method what I will do, I need to return the list of teachers. But first we need to create an instance of the teacher repository, like what we did exactly in the student controller. In the student controller we did something like private and constructor. So we will take this copy and we will paste it here, but for this will be I teacher repository. I teacher repository, and I will rename it to teacher repository with underscore. And then I have to rename the constructor, and again should be I teacher repository and teacher repository without underscore. And then I have to say that my global variable should be equal to the passed parameter here. So now we can start creating the implementation for the action methods. In the index, I want to return the list of students. So what we did in the student controller, we just simply say that we need the list of students from the repository, and same we will do here. So I will define a list of teachers or teacher, and let's add the model, and I will call it like teacher lst equal my teacher repository dot get all teachers. That's it. And I need to return this list to the view by this way. Now we need to create another action method. Public. Okay, this is not iAction method. I will say action method. Public action result. Let's say create. And this is just to return the view of the student creation. So I will say create, and this will return view. It should return its view. And this because we just want to get the view, so this should be http get. And now we need to create another action method, public action result. Again, create, but this create should receive teacher object. Teacher. And this also should be post because we are going to create a new resource, so http post. And its implementation will be the teacher repository dot create, and we should pass the teacher object. And we need to return view of index. And also we need to create another action method to delete an existing teacher, and this should receive integer id, and we will go and create the implementation for this method. What I want to do, I will just simply say teacher repository dot delete, and I will pass the id, and then I have to return the view of index. That's it, but we forget something here and in the student controller. Now, after creating a new resource, we are saying that just simply return the view of index. But inside the view index, we need to render the list of teachers. So we need to pass also the list of teachers. So simply we need to take this to here. After creating the resource, we need to return also the list of teachers. So we can simply say comma and pass your model. And same we will do for the delete. We will take this and we will paste it here, and we will say just pass it to the index by this way. And we will go to the student controller and we will do the same. We need to take this and we need to pass it here. So student list will be passed here, and also the student list will be also passed here. And also again for the last method here. So that's it. And again, we need to do the same for the courses and for the rooms. And I need to mention here that this repository folder, you can create multiple folders based on your software architecture. But for now, I'm using the simple architecture. I want to now add a new controller and new repositories for both the rooms and for the courses. I will create a new interface for the rooms. I will call it room repository. I will take it, copy. I will click add, and then I have to create a class for the rooms, but will be just normal class called room repository. I will go to this interface and I will create my functions here. The first function, let's take this, copy from here. I will do the same, but it is create and it will receive room. I have to add the model and also this list of room to get all rooms and to delete, and it will receive the ID. And this object should be renamed to room, and that's it. And I have to go now to the class repository, room repository, and I have to say implement the interface room repository, and I have to say implement interface. And again, we need to do the same as what we did before in the teacher repository or in the class repository by taking this and paste it here, and I will change the names to be room and will include the context and the DB option from the entity framework code. And I have to create the implementation for these methods using the entity framework and LINQ query. So to create a new room, I have to say my application context dot rooms dot add. I will just say room, and I will say save changes dot save changes. That's it. And also for the delete, I will do the same. Application context dot rooms dot remove. I need to find first the room which I'm going to delete. Using the LINQ, I will say room equal. Now using the link from my object name like room obj in my application DB context dot rooms, where my object, which is room obj dot the room ID, should be equal to the value ID. Then I have to select this object, room obj, and then I have to say first or default in order to make sure that only one room has been retrieved, and then just simply pass this object to the remove function here, and then say application context dot save changes. That's it. And for this also we will do the same. I will define a list of rooms. Let's call it room lst equal again from room obj in my context dot rooms. I need to select the whole object, sorry, room object dot to list. That's it. And then I have to return this list room LST. That's it. And also we need to add the same for the courses. Let's add it now. We will go add new interface for the courses. Sorry, it will be I course repository. We'll take this copy, click add. And I will add the class for the room repository, and I will call it just course repository. And now I will go to the, for example, the room. I will take this copy and I will go to the interface here, and I have to mention this is public, and then I have to say that we are now in the courses. So course, I have to add the model, and the same, this will be course, and get all courses. And then we need to go here and create our implementation. Now we will implement the I room repository, and we will simply just say implement interface, and inside this we will just say create a new room. We can take it from here, like we will take the constructor and the definition here, but we will change the constructor name to be course repository, and we will include the DB context in this class and the database options. And also I can simply take the implementation for the create and paste it here, but I will, okay, this is not a room, so I have to go to the repository here. Here it is course. Yeah, that's it. So here I have to change it to course. Yeah, okay. The problem here that I have implemented the wrong interface. I course repository, and then just I will delete these functions, and again I can say implement the interface. Now course, I can take the implementation from here for the create, and I can paste it here, but I have to say this is not room, this is courses, and I have to say add the course rather than the room. That's it. And the same I can do for the delete, but rather than saying room, it is a course, and also it is course obj, course obj, and then dot courses, and I have to say that the course ID should be equal to the value ID, and then this will be renamed also, and this dot courses. Now we are just doing copy and paste because we are doing the same job. And for get all courses, we can also take it from here, and I can say this is courses, and here course obj, and I will take it copy, and here it is dot courses, and then I have to say course LST and paste it here. So now we have 4 repositories for the 4 models. Now we need to create a controllers for the rooms and for the courses, as we did exactly with the teachers and the students. So I will add a new controller. I will say empty and I will click add. And its name should be like room controller and click add. And I will add another one for the courses. Click add and I will say course controller. Click add. Now what I will do inside the room controller, exactly as we did in the student, for example, I will take the definition and the constructor and all these methods except the last one, and I will go here and I will paste them here, and the same for the course controller. We will go back and rename our variables. Like here it's iStudent, I need it iRoom repository, and I will just say using, and this also should be like room repository, and the controller constructor should be room controller, and this also will be renamed to room repository. This is without underscore, and we will take this to be room, and we will take this here. Now okay, the accessibility, because iRoom repository is not a public, so let's go to iRoom repository, iRoom repository, and let's say that okay, this is a public. Go back to the room controller and we have to say that okay, list of room, and we need to add the model, and this is room repository, and dot get all rooms, and this room lst. So now this also will be renamed, rather than student it will be room, and let's call it like room, and we will pass it here, and the student repository will be not student repository, will be room repository dot add dot create, yeah, dot create a new room, and then again we have to take this and we have to apply it here, and we have to apply it also here, because we need to get the list of rooms, and then we can pass the list of rooms also here, and the room repository should be replaced here. So that's it for the room controller. Again, for the courses controller, we just need to say that this is course repository, underscore course repository, and I have to take this, and this will be course repository, and also we need to change the constructor name, and this the course repository, and this is the course repository. Yeah, this is because it is iStudent. So now this is fine, and this we need to change to be room, or sorry, course we need to add the model, and from here we can say that the course repository dot get all courses, and this should be course lst, and should be passed here. And same, we will take this copy and replace it here and replace it here. And this core list should be passed here and passed here. And this is not a student again, this is course repository. And also this is course repository. Here dot create. And we need to add here, not a student, we need to add course. So course, and let's call it course, and we will pass it here. So that's it. So now we have 4 controllers, we have 5 models, and we have 4 repositories. So now we understand the controllers and how we can use and utilize the controllers. And also we understand the model and how to configure our project to use the entity framework. Before going to explain the views here, we need to create the views for the course controller and for the room controller. How we can do that? As we did before, right click for the index and click add view and just simply say add, and then also add. So now this is the index page for the course controller. And we need to do the same for the create. We can just go to add view and simply add again and keep it create. Again, this is the view, and we need to do the same for the rooms controller. And so we will go here and say add view and add, then add. And we will do the same for create, add view, click add, click add. So that's it for the room controller. And also we have the another controller for the teacher controller. Teacher controller, we need to create also the views. Click add. Same for the create. Click add and add again. So now we are creating just views for the index and for the create. Regarding the delete and this create, we don't want views because this is just actions. So once the user click on a button, for example, this function will be called in order to delete the teacher, for example, or in order to create the teacher in the database. So no need for the views for these kind of actions. And also we forget, I think, one view for the student for the register. Let's make sure where is the student we have create and index. So we need also for the register in order to allow students to register in courses. Add and then add and then add. Now we are almost done.